Hold for a second. Yes. A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are yet back again with a very exciting program of Management Accounting Insights. The topic to be discussed today is impact of cost reduction and controls on profitability. We have the chief guest of the day, CA Jitendra Atra, who works with Edelweiss Insurance as a CFO, a man who has a deep insight into the entire concepts of cost cutting and how to control profits in times of crisis. The main topic shall be taken by Shri Sundar Kishan. Now I hand the proceedings to Madam CA Sonia Arora for her further proceedings. Sonia, the dais is all yours.
Thank you, sir. A very warm good evening to all. I feel delighted and honored while welcoming you all on VCA1, Management Accounting Insight, that is impact of cost reduction and controls on profitability, organized by Committee on Management Accounting of ICI and hosted by Jalandhar branch of ICI. Now I heartily welcome Charanjot Singh Nandaji, a name that reckon no introduction and reckon only respect and regard. He is our sitting Central Council member and presently holding a chairman of Internal Audit Standard Board and Management Accounting Team, the vice chairman of many committee, and I think there hardly left any committee which is not benefited from his wisdom. He is also author of professional books and is contributing towards the upliftment of the profession since 1991. He is the one who is burning midnight oil, not for his progress, but for the welfare of us all. He has a personification of sky is not the limit. He always provides enlightenment and openness to see the things around and perceive them in the best way. Actually, he is passionate, determined, phenomenal, and the best. I think I will keep on adding the adjective for Nanda sir. Now I'm coming to the topic of today, which is the need of the hour. As in this pandemic, in the long run, only the profit maximizers survive in the business environment. And however, for adequate profits to be recorded from a business, there is a need of adequate control on cost. So I think the topic is very relevant in this scenario. And now I request Charanjot Singh Nandaji, a man of technical expertise and truly a blessing for the profession, to please proceed and throw light on the subject. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sonia ji. Now I would like to take this opportunity to formally welcome CA Sundar Kishan ji, CA Jitendra Atra ji, CA Utsav ji, Mr. Gurleen Singh Sani, the Secretary of Jalandhar branch, Madam Sonia Arora, the Chairman of Jalandhar branch, and all participants. Let me very candidly say that we have more than 2,200 people logged in this program. And Mr. Sundar Kishan was a bit surprised. Mr. Sundar Kishan, we have such programs every Friday, and we have more than 2,000 participants. And Saturday we'll have one program on Internal Audit Standard Board, where we'll find more than 2,000 members again. So it is the quality of the program that ultimately attracts membership, because the basic impetus of holding such programs is to ensure that the membership goes home more enlightened. They need to hone their technical skills, and you find no other way better than attending a webinar where who's and who's of industry come and speak and ultimately give their knowledge earned over the years in certain few minutes, and the person can accumulate that for the person for the further references. When we speak of programs, I am reminded of a couplet. The couplet says, चौक से निकालिए गलतियां मेरे किरदार में, शौक से निकालिए गलतियां मेरे किरदार में, अगर आप नहीं होंगे तो मुझे तराशेगा कौन. We have to understand one thing very clearly. The more we understand things, the better human beings we become. I am reminded of again a second couplet. After seeing my friend Sundar Kishan, a long friend of 20 years, I am again reminded of a couplet. The couplet says, Putto tareef hai tum par. Put means a statue, a mujasma. Putto tareef hai tum par, tarakki isko kehte hain. Na tarashe the to patthar the, tarashe to khuda nikle. From a piece of stone you carve and make God, and throughout your life you keep your head bowing before it. We have to ensure that we all have to work in tandem to ensure that not only our clients or stakeholders are benefited, but even the regulators and governments are benefited by our professional acumen, the way how we work, the way how we draft things, and the way how we put across things to the other side of the table so that people always appreciate that, yes, we are chartered accountants. You all know that the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India was set up by an Act of Parliament way back on 1st July 1949, when the most important document to the democracy, the Constitution, was not adopted. All of us are well aware that the Constitution to this great country was promulgated on 26 January 1950. The pertinent question that arises is, what prompted the Constituent Assembly to set up an Institute of Chartered Accountants of India when its own democratic setup was not in place? The answer is very candid, very simple, very forthcoming. They were looking for a disciplined band of soldiers to steer this entire economy and this great country, India. Through such programs, you are introduced to various other non-traditional areas of practice which can help you. Today's Management Insights, Accounting Insights program, Impact of Cost Reduction and Controls on Profitability, is truly a program which shall help you create an awareness of the direction in which you need to travel. A well-known quote which says, it is not the speed which is important, it is the direction which is important. So in any organization, the maximum and major objective is to maximize profit, but the major constraint facing them are rise in cost of operation. Yes, cost of operation is a very important thing. Now, cost reduction is a planned positive approach to reduce expenditure. Cost control is the process of establishing a standard and maintaining the performance according to that benchmark standard. Cost reduction and control leads to the reduction in unit cost of goods or services without impairing the suitability for the use intended. The cost may be brought down, but the quality of goods or services offered have to be par excellence. What is the significance of cost reduction? Cost reduction and control are important in an organization in order to regulate and reduce unwanted expenses, and it also helps to bring about increase in market demand in terms of competitive market. The significance of cost reduction and cost control derived from its function in profit maximization, how profit can be increased to a predetermined level. Any organization that is successful using cost reduction and cost reduction can sell its product at a lower rate than its competitors without reducing its quality and yet remain a system to create value and worth. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You are
Yes, sir.
very much audible, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir. Perfect.
So now I would like to discuss for a minute the tools and techniques used to reduce simplification and variety reduction. Planning and benefit analysis, value analysis, contribution analysis, job evaluation, and merit rating and must be properly administered in an organization by setting realistic standards. You have to test it so that they are able to stand to the test of time. Cost control should be operated in every department in an organization, especially the production department, in order to make sure that the number of goods are fact of cost reduction and cost control techniques are very essential to the growth and survival of any organization in a highly competitive environment, ranging from practical monitoring the standards till it is achieved and also strategically reduce cost activities. The cost has to be kept at the minimal, the quality at the highest level, and service has to be the motto. Cost reduction and control has a positive impact which can be enumerated as pay down debt. First issue. Paying off debt is always a good move. Cost control and reduction in expenses Do not create debt, and a low debt load reduces the ratio of debt to equity. Second, improve credit worthiness. Yes, a lower debt to equity ratio improves the equipment, which could be high speed manufacturing machines or better IT equipments and software for the office. Reduce, again, very, very important. New experiment need less maintenance, hence invest. Maintenance management scheme capable of scheduling, tracking and reviewing for marketing advertisement. Very, very important. Increase budgets, generate more fund, competitive advantage. For a company to stay in business, it needs to have and maintain an efficient operation which gives it a company from employees. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have just, in a nutshell, have tried to highlight the areas which are very important in cost cutting. Not taking much of it. Sonia ji, yes, you can please go ahead. I feel there is a technical glitch at my end. Please go ahead.
I guess, sir, there is a network issue with you.
Sonia ji, please go ahead. Please go ahead. You can.
Then, sir.
Utsav sir,
Right,
please go
Mr.
ahead.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Nandaji. You have set the tone for this VCM. I would like to
Thank
introduce now
Dogra, sir.
CA Jatinder Ratharji for his special address.
Yes, yes. Yes.
CA Jatinder Ratharji is CFO and Head of Operations, Edelweiss General Insurance Company Limited. He is a chartered accountant with over 18 years of post-qualification experience as a finance professional and has been working for over 15 years in the insurance sector. His role has been in senior leadership, finance function in fintech and insurance tech companies. He is passionate about escalating insurance profitability in India, cost management, and business analytics. He specializes in finance reporting, IFRS, internal controls, SOS, risk management, audit, management reporting, business planning, dashboard, cost management, budgeting, forecasting, analytics, profitability maximization, and management. He is a music lover, a fiction book writer, and he also loves to run. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Utsavji, and thank you very much, Nandaji, for inviting me to this very well-versed forum. I think it's an honor to speak in front of all my colleagues and friends, and I hope I could do justice to and add value to all you fine people. I mean, to hear that 2,000 people are online, it's a great way to get this program running, and it's really an honor. I hope I able to share my little bit of wisdom that I've garnered over the period of time, and I hope people like to hear what I say. I will be very, very practical and precise to the extent, and try to share as much as knowledge that I have gained over the period of time from my practical experience. It's a very, very relevant topic. I think it's a kudos to the team who selected this topic, because it's currently the most important and the most spoken about topic in the finance world today. Because now people are realizing that, of course, when in this scenario which is going on current, where top line is a challenge for many businesses, every businesses in one way or the other have taken a hit on the revenue side, on the top line. So that's where, but as companies, we need to ensure that we protect the bottom lines and profitability of the company. And today is the time where the finance function's role is at its peak. And I think the quality of the finance professional and the team will now be tested given the scenario that we are. So I want to start, this session by saying why cost control. I mean, when we say cost reduction and cost control, I would rather use the word cost optimization than cost reduction. See, what happens today when we say cost reduction is we are actually saying we have to reduce costs. Where we actually want to do is optimize cost. We have to bring down cost. But where we were spending 1 rupee, we have to ensure that wherever we are spending 1 rupee, we have to earn at least 3 rupees of value for that. So we have to test the model of every expenditure that we are doing so that we test it so hard that every rupee that we spend, we get the value of 3 or 4 rupees or the best optimization as much as possible. And why do we want to have that? That's the first point. Because the simple reason that every rupee saved is actually a rupee earned for the company. So if top line is not happening, where we know there's a restriction to it, where the sales team will come and say, okay, we cannot go into the market, we cannot sell the products because of the scenario. Every rupee saved is actually adding to your bottom. It not only adds to your bottom line, actually, if you look at the bottom line, then it increases the valuation of the company. If you're making, say, 200 crores of profit today, and by cost management you're doing 250, it is actually your valuation of the company is going up by a multiple. So 1 rupee saved is actually 4 rupees or 5 rupees, depending on the multiple of the value of the company that you save. Actually, your valuation of the company goes up. So the other thing, not only that it increases the valuation, it reduces the amount of capital that the company needs to put into the business. I used to spend, say, 100 crores in the business, getting a top line of 300 crores. Now with those 100 crores instead of 100 crores, I would spend 75 crores to get the same amount of business. So that is a very important thing today to happen, because with decreasing business, this is the most important element for the company to ensure that we still make a proper bottom line and we ensure that we do not lose on our profits. Now, how do you do that? What's the biggest question comes practically when you get into a company, and how do you do cost control measures or cost management, if you call it that way? I think the first important thing to identify in any business is the key matrix that drive profitability. Of course, we know operating expenses is one of the biggest matrix, but there are others which could propel the profitability and costs, which probably will not be OPEX, but yeah, some other elements. Productivity is one I can think of. So there will be various other measures. So you'll have to identify the key matrix as an organization, which you need to track. One, definitely you have to identify the productivity of the sales teams. In this scenario, what is the productivity that is there? We need to break even and earn profitability. Second important is the employee cost today. Identify which are fixed costs and variable costs. How much of movement to a fixed from a fixed cost to a variable cost that we can move as a company, because whatever is fixed costs in terms of that is immovable. So it's very difficult to bring down those costs when your top line comes down. It's very important to identify those fixed costs and make sure we try and variabilize some of these costs if possible. So when your drop in your top line happens, your variable cost is actually coming down instead of with a fixed cost, which remains constant. So those identify of the 5 to 10 very key matrix is very, very important. Once you identify those metrics, you track that on a very regular basis. Once you track that, you have measures to ensure that as and when your top line goes down, this is what I need to do from my matrix and to ensure my profitability happens as such. So very importantly, in any business, those key metrics will be the key important things that we have. As discussed in our business, sales, it is a very sales, the insurance is a very sales driven business. Sales frontline productivities are very, very important. Agents' commissions are very important. So, you might go into a model where you pay low fixed cost and high commissions, so that if a particular person doesn't do business, it will impact his commissions, and accordingly, if there is lower business, my costs become lower. So those are the kind of activities first you need to identify and then move ahead into the next. So this is the top thing that you need to do. Identify your matrix for profitability and then go down. So once you've identified these matrix, how do you prepare to analyze and control costs, for example? Now, first and foremost, you need to have a very strong management information system. For every cost that goes in, you need to have the complete details of those costs entered into the system. Because if you're not having those costs, it becomes very difficult to control because you don't have data. And once you don't have data, it's very difficult to figure out where exactly we are leaking in terms of costs, etc. The first more important thing is to identify everything that you need to record. Once you record those things, you have to analyze it on a very, very regular basis. A few examples, for example, in an insurance case, travel is a very big, very big spend for many of the businesses. So you identify when we book travel, for example, you would say, airline ticket costs, what does it cost from what level to what level? When you enter in printing data, you say print per page costs, etc. These are the kind of things you need to have data at every level, so that once you have those data, you can pinpoint at very, very particular things. If I need to improve my travel costs, if I improve my printing costs, if I need to, all those kind of data needs to be stored in the system in a very, very proper and an allocated one. So you need to have a very good MIS systems for that, enter data in the right manner, and then at the month end, every month you analyze those data, figure out where as a company we can have opportunities where we can go and negotiate costs with the vendors, with the sales teams, etc. We can tell them where we are going wrong. People might be buying very high level tickets. People might be traveling without a reason, booking cars where we can take, we can do a video conferencing, etc. Those are the kind of things you need to build in the systems at the first and foremost. Currently, with the wave of digitization going on, we are a very digital company. We have invested a lot on systems, and I think that is the way of the future. I think the next decade or so will belong to digitization, absolutely. So what is happening, say, before COVID happened, COVID is a blessing in disguise in one way from the cost perspective, because a lot of cost savings are happening due to technology. So earlier, if I do have to give my own example, where insurance policies were based on hard copy documents, etc. Now nothing is happening on a hard copy basis, which is hugely impacted the costs. Now nothing is going to the customer on a hard copy. Today the customer logs into the system, enters his details, does an NEFT, and he receives an email on the policy, the email, or a WhatsApp on the policy on the WhatsApp, etc. That saves a huge amount of cost for the company. What we as chartered accountants need to do now, get ourselves trained over the technology front, because a technology today is driving costs to the lowest possible denominator. In fact, as we speak, I am actually not working from my head office location, which is Mumbai. I'm working from outside. For more than a year, I have not visited my office. We are working from remote other locations. And that has saved a lot of costs for us from a head office perspective, rentals, etc. Now people are using a lot of technology for digitizing the entire customer journey. Not to go beyond this, if I have to go beyond this, now we are using management analytical sources and machine learnings, etc., where we can analyze claims data to ensure that we don't have people working in the claims department, and we can just on the fly, the computers and the analytics procedures, the claims can be managed on the fly, and you don't need people to do that. A lot of automation is going on, and as and when with new technologies coming in, a lot of automation is taking place. I mean, it's a thing to stay in the future, and a lot of companies have now given up a lot of space. A lot of branch costs is coming down, HO costs are coming down. So people don't want to invest today in the real estate business and say we use technology and people can work from homes, and that will add to people's satisfaction because they are utilizing more quality time at home. At the same time, they are delivering from home because of the technology. So I think the next decade or so, the biggest way to cost management is technology. Every single process which is done manually today has to be stress tested to ensure that it passes the lenses of technology, and if it can be automated, needs to be automated on priority. So that is the biggest thing, which is going to drive cost optimization. And we are doing it right now. In fact, now we have moved another level where we're making products where through automation, which is online, instead of an agent coming and selling, today now we've created products which we can sell online, and the entire customer journey moves from the customer to our sales to our accounts in a very seamless manner, no manual intervention, and that reduces the number of people and that reduces cost of them. So automation becomes the key driver to cost optimization, and that is going to remain. At the same time, when we speak the importance of channels that we have in terms of sales and in terms of the department's cost that we have, every single costs need to be split up at the channel level and at a department level, which makes channel level profitability a possibility. When we design and make this channel level profitability a reality, we know which channels we are actually making profits, which channel are spending more, where the productivities are low, etc. And then we can move ahead on each channel and know which are the profitable channels that we need to take control of. So those are the things we need to prepare for when we're doing cost optimization. And these are the things on the back end we need to make as an organization, so that we have all the set of data available with this, and at the same time identify opportunities of automation where we can automate various stuff and move ahead on the cost optimization. Some of the things that other than these, of course, is data, is we can do is have a centralized sourcing. I mean, that's very important, because what happens today is sourcing happens by various departments. What we've seen over the period of time, when you have a lot of sourcing requirements for the company, you have a team which actually analyzes what are the rates provided by various companies, and then they actually have 3 shortlisted, and we have a centralized team, and this centralized team can get you costs at very, very low levels. You get softwares in the market wherein you have a reverse bidding, reverse auction kind of softwares, where your vendors, your clients actually can come and they can bid online, and you get the lowest cost as an organization. That is one of the very effective measures to actually save costs and optimize whatever costs you have currently going ahead. The second important thing when you are making profitability statements or taking costs as a company is benchmarking. I think very importantly, you should know your key competitors in the market. If you are doing a particular thing in a particular cost, the same thing would have been done by the competitors at a lower cost. So it's very important you analyze P&Ls of your competitors, take cost by cost analysis of your competitors, get their P&Ls, identify the things at what cost, at what revenues they are spending these costs, and what is the amount of value they are deriving. If you are not spending too much, we are fine. But if you do benchmarking, you realize at some point, at some costs, some of them are actually spending higher than you, but there are various other costs, they will be lower than you. And that's what gives you the areas of your focus. You can focus on those areas and then try and get those costs down as such. And very importantly, you have to relook your policies. Sometimes the policies are made in a past years or so, where travel policies, your lodging and boarding policies, your leave policies, for example, employee policies, those are the kind of things that you have to relook to ensure that current scheme of things, if we have to optimize costs, these are the things that we as a company need to do and move ahead in this. So those are some of the things that I think, in a very, very nutshell, that we as an organization needs to do to ensure that we get down the costs, because in this environment, it is a make or break kind of scenario. If we don't get the cost down, sometimes it will be a matter of survival for some of the companies. So these are the measures that we've done over the period of time, and we continue to focus on these various things that I've spoken about, and that's how you go about the entire. So it's a very, very important element. I think this is the time where cost reduction and the CFOs play a very, very vital role in the organization, and we as chartered accountants are the flag bearer for it. So I think, I hope, these are the matrices you have to follow find these things in your workplace or wherever you can think of, and then move ahead in your role in optimizing these costs. So that's, I'm happy to take any questions that come from anyone else.
Great, Athra.
Thank you so much, sir.
Fascinating presentation.
Yeah.
Over to CA Utsav Dogra ji for further presentation. Dogra, sir.
Thank you so much, Atra sir. To summarize what you have said, I have made a few notes. That from your point of view, the better word would be cost optimization rather than cost reduction. And as we all understand, in costing, there was a principle of paise ka na jana bhi aana hi hai. You have related that completely to your deliberation, and it's certain relationship with the valuation of the company and the requirement of the capital, like how cost reduction is going to actually help us with that, and identification of the matrices. And to do that, a strong MIS system needs to be implemented. Investment in technology would be the key, and data on centralized sourcing. That would again be the part of the exercise that needs to be done for the cost optimization. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. If there would be any question, I will throw you the same in the when I will open the house for the question and answer session. Now, I would like to request our eminent speaker to address us, CA Sundar Krishnan ji. Mr. S.V. Sundar Krishnan is Chief Risk Officer at Reliance Nippon Life Insurance Company, which is one of the India's leading life insurance companies. Reliance Nippon Life is a joint venture between Reliance Capital Limited and Nippon Life Japan. Out of a career of spanning over 3 decades, he has dedicated 14 years in Reliance Nippon Life, where he has been at the helm of enterprise risk management and internal audit, BCP, information security, legal, secretarial, claims and compliances. He has judicially used technology to implement a risk-based strategy across all these functions. His profile includes leading companies like DSP Merrill Lynch, ING Veshya, Credit Leonese, Standard Chartered Bank, International Indonesia, Ernst & Young, and Deloitte. His experience spanned for more than 12 countries and significant role in exposure to the banking business and operations. He is Bachelor in Commerce, Economics, Chartered Accountant, Certified Information System Auditor, CISA, Intercompany Secretary, and Checkpoint Certified Security Administrator, and is certified in Enterprise-Wide Risk Management Program from Asian Institute of Management, Manila. He is recipient of distinctive recognition from the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, who named him Best Professional Achiever for the year 2011. Such a wide introduction for you, sir. I believe that we would be able to learn a lot from you. You have set a benchmark for the newcomers like us. We are actually looking upon you to be somewhere around like you in future, maybe. So over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Nandaji. Thank you, Nandaji. Thank you, Mr. Dogra. I think very generous introduction. I hope I justify whatever the credentials you've spoken of. Cost reduction, again, of course, the backdrop of pandemic is a very, very important subject. And revenues are challenged. So where do we look at? And the only place to look at is cost reduction. After such great speakers as Mr. Nanda and Mr. Jitendra, I have very much little to add, but I'll try and do that. So my speech has already been grabbed, but I have prepared some slides. So I think I can take you through that and try and do some justice. So let me take you through my presentation. And of course, please feel free to interrupt the presentation. It's not necessary I have to go through the presentation and the flow. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very good. Great. So all is well. So sometimes technology could really, really scare you. So I quite agree with Mr. Arya, Jitendra Arya, that hope I'm getting the name right. I met him. Sorry? Yeah. So I quite agree with the statement that he made. Cost reduction is a very negative word probably in some form when you associate that with cost cutting. I request people to mute their screen. Please mute. A lot of noise, background noise. Thank you. So cost reduction you normally associate with a negative connotation because you then... Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, sure. Correct? Correct, yeah. So cost reduction is something you may tend to associate with cost cutting, as we call it, and which is negative. But cost reduction actually also has a positive connotation, which is using strategies and achieving cost leadership, or cost optimization, which is the right word to use, as my previous speaker said, which is a correct thing to do. And you'll be surprised. In fact, I'll have some interesting case studies in the end of my presentation. And firstly, how much time do I have? Because I have 25 slides, so I don't know. I'll go on and people may get bored. So, but many of them are case studies. So I have an hour or 45 minutes, 45 minutes to speak. Hello? How much time do I have?
Sir, 1 hour 15 minutes.
Okay, great. That's a lot of time. All right. So, right. So the points that I want to touch upon is of course, introduction, the backdrop of pandemic, wherein we are challenged for revenue streams. As we speak, we've got about 720 odd branches, and 160 of them are closed. So we're challenged. So we're already seeing fall in revenue, even with a lower base of last year, for last 10 or 15 days. But April has been great. So I'm hoping that we'll catch up in the next portion of the May, whatever is left out. But we are challenged. So we hope after the lockdown on May 31st, June would be better, and we will bounce back. But there is a lot of confidence this year versus what was there last year. Last year we were not confident at all, and therefore the paranoia you associate with cost cutting is what I think my previous speaker also touched upon. Cost cutting sometimes could be mindless. It's like cutting your GDP. That's not desirable. Whereas cost reduction is great. And that's why I've said cost reduction versus cost control. Let's look at that. And what are the cost control measures? You could do a quality drive. You could say, on a standard, I have to do this at this cost, whereas actual is this and this. Now, how much part of that is adding value to the customer? This probably sometimes we miss. How much part of that adds value to the brand? Sometimes that we missed. How much part of that we add value for the personalization of services that we give? That is sometimes missed. So we'll have to look at that aspect also. It's not that the quality drive is normally not intended to look at that, but many times you do that with try and cut cost or control. Of course, there are expense management norms. There are very stringent expense management norms that the insurance company identified. In fact, the previous speaker is the owner of that, one of the biggest driver of that. The owner is, of course, everybody in the company. And we have to rationalize. That's what we also spoke about, rationalization, optimization. And impact on profits. We'll see through the case study. And cost reduction cost reduction is actually the better word as against cost control or cost cutting. The positive connotation of that cost reduction word, which is through business transformation. You transform business from what it is. Digitization, he spoke about digitization, but you do a digital transformation. Everything and anything that you do is digital instead of manual. In fact, that's what has helped us to face pandemic. In fact, in the Kaun Banega Crorepati question, if there is a question, who achieved the best, who achieved digital transformation? The choices were CEO, Chief Strategy Officer, the board of the company, and the last choice was pandemic. And the universal, unanimous choice was pandemic. The pandemic has accelerated digitization. Most of the companies had unleashed digital transformation about 5, 6, 7 years back, but be it by bank or be it by insurance company or a mutual fund. In the entire BFSI space, digital transformation is ongoing as we speak, and probably matured. And of course, people used bots, artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotic-based automation, and many other tools like applications, mobility-based applications, which actually helped us to cut processes, make it simple, make it customer-friendly, make it user-friendly, eliminate waste, focus on outsourcing and partnering, wherein the outsourced partner brings in lots of specialized skills, value to the table, and cost optimization, technological breakthrough. If any of you know Reliance itself, the big Reliance, the old one, when they manufactured, they said they wanted the best plant in the world, best factory in the world, and they achieved the best product, best at cheapest price with TQM, total quality management. So these are possible through technological breakthrough. Brings in about scalability, volume, strength, and niche in the market. Impacts, of course, is very good on profits. We would see that through case studies. So this is what I thought I will cover. I will go to topic by topic, cost control versus cost reduction. Cost control, again, doesn't mean that cost control is bad. Don't get me wrong. It's sometimes, it's a short-term focus. That's the problem. A cost control with a long-term focus is great, wherein you achieve some kind of cost reduction, actually, and aims at achieving predetermined cost, whereas cost reduction aims at reduction cost by finding new ways or methods to have continuous economy on costs. So you could say cost control is tactical, whereas cost reduction is very strategic. You've got to be really, really strategic about how do you cut cost, how do you optimize cost, rather, how do you rationalize cost. Cost control is operation oriented, like you cut some operations which you feel you can do away with. Of course, 3 years down the line or 4 years down the line, you might pay a price for that. If there is a compliance issue, or if there is a issue raised due to some customer, when you look back, oh my God, I should not have done that. Whereas cost reduction is research oriented, always trying to reduce cost through planned research. You plan well, you do actually a pilot, you actually do testing, you actually visualize, you actually do a orientation in terms of what you need to achieve very clearly, and then you release that or implement that. Cost control is achieved once costs do not exceed the standards, whereas cost reduction is never ending. You keep on doing research, you keep on doing excellent techniques, machinery, and material. And in fact, cost reduction begins when cost control ends, short run versus long run. So this, I thought, is a very positive way to bring about the orientation to these technologies or these terms being used, terminologies. And my screen won't move. Arre baapre. Yeah, thank God. Cost control. Okay. Cost control measures, quality drives. So you have standards and you have norms, and you achieve. So you say, this is the standard for this industry, this benchmark, this process, this product. And you would say, okay, achieve that. So actual is more than the norm. Great. Cost is, you're under cost, whereas there is excess. If you're more than the norm, you have to cut. And this is a very traditional way used, especially in manufacturing companies, wherein you use standard costing and achieve this. Nothing wrong, nothing bad. Again, great. It's a good technique. So that's one of the ways you do. And you choose, of course, you have to do focus on quality, and you do quality drive. You ensure there are least defects, Six Sigma being one of the favorable process. And of course, there is Kaizen and many other drives. I'm part of Japanese company, so for them this is bread material, and it's part of their blood. Rationalization versus cost cutting. Again, they always talk about PDCA cycle. So wherein you do a root cause analysis, why for every single problem, and achieve excellence. Rationalization is that where you achieve optimization, as the previous speaker spoke about, and whereas cost cutting is you just cut some operations or cut some areas that you think is not required. And of course, both bring about impact on profits. What is more important is the long-term profit, sustainable profit, focused profit that brings in a cheer, that brings in a smile to all stakeholders, which is employees, customers, government, regulator, taxation, shareholder mainly, of course, and executive management. So that's the way you do it. You do it with such great precision, such with great excellence, such with projects, good planning, plan, do RCA, Y, and achieve process excellence, and then bring about cost optimization. So many of the all the insurance companies have strong expense on management, and they have to comply with it. It's extremely strong. It's one of the big driver of profitability, efficiency, productivity, etc. Everything you do with the productivity drive in mind, you sales drive in mind, you also a EOM driver. Whether is this what I'm doing is a EOM compliant one, you have to always test that part. Apart from, of course, being profitable, apart from, of course, being growth oriented, apart from being, of course, the other parameters that you look at, but you also look at this EOM parameter. So you have to achieve some norms for all products, and there are varying norms. It's very complex for outsiders, but of course for us it's bread butter. And so we do that and meet the norms, of course. And if you don't meet it, that's a problem. And you look down badly, and then you have to appeal. You have to go to live counsel. Live counsel has to appeal to the regulator. Regulator may consider, may not consider. And people who do not achieve the norms are looked at as bad boys versus the good boys who achieve. And there are standards, of course. And you have to weed out outliers, discard toxicity. There are certain businesses that you do that brings in bad reputation or ill repute. Good old days, about 10 years back, we used to have products with 80% margin and stuff like that, 60% margin. And a bulk of that used to go to the distributor. Heavy sales-centric business, heavy distribution-oriented business. But then the other stakeholders, customers, shareholders, company, were all left out. And such business brings in many times toxicity in the long run. It also resulted in a lot of mis-selling, because people were never told that if they put 100 rupees, out of that 60 rupees is already gone in the first year. The first year, mind you, not the second year, third year, 4 year, 5 year. Insurance is very long-term business. So somewhere in 8th year or 9th year, 6th year, 7th year, depending on the product, the company breaks even. And therefore, till that 7th year, your policyholder has to pay every year the renewal premium. And in the renewal premium, the amount of cutting that we can do is very regulated. And therefore, you can't do much. Not more than 5% for some products, not more than 2% for some products. And so, so everybody does what they could do in the initial year, charge a lot. But now all those things have gone. All those luxury items have gone. Regulators come back strongly and said, okay, this is what you could do, maximum. And so there's tremendous amount of profit margins which were there huge are all gone now. And so you have to differentiate products. Some products you could make more money, but it's more long term, not easy to sell. Some products you could probably is easy to sell, but complex. And so in this process, you have to decide what is important for you and what is toxic for you. Toxic meaning higher mis-selling, bringing ill reputation. And also there could be toxic businesses. Some businesses are very challenged within the insurance business, where outright you would incur a loss because of the competition, and you would get into that negative competition of killing themselves. And so you will have to discard such kind of businesses and then think long term. And this is what some of the insurance company did. Many of the insurance company did to become profitable, to become UM compliant, become a benchmark. Total quality management again is something very important. Six Sigma, as I mentioned. Quality in whatever you do is very important. It's quite important to achieve total quality management. Lean costing, Six Sigma, zero defect in products. I don't know how many of you know, insurance product is extremely complex. 160 to 180 parameters are there. And many of the parameters kick in 20 years later, 10 years later, 7 years later, 30 years later. A maturity of a 30-year policy will kick in only in 30th year. So, किसने बनाया, क्या देखा, कौन था, is the question. And you will have to ensure the systems as those settings for up to 30 years. And therefore, you will have to visualize that 30 years, test for those 30 years, ensure there are zero defect on the 30th year. And this is what is extremely important. And this we were highly challenged as an industry last 10 years or 15 years because, as I mentioned clearly to you, a regulator clamped down on many insurance products which are toxic, which brought about mis-selling, which actually was not favorable to customer but was favorable to distributor. Then the regulator came very harshly on the industry and removed lots of products, reduced lots of margins. And as a result, what happened is there was a cutoff date put, and then 30 products or 20 products. You are productless. If you're productless, what do you sell? You are like without oxygen. And therefore, you are forced to sell products that were new. And suddenly, settings have to be done for 20, 30 years, and the time given was some 2-3 months. A lot of people rushed. As a result, lots of products have errors in them, mistakes in them, and industry faced the brunt of that. And sometimes you'll have to look back and calculate for 7 or 8 years for a single customer. What is the NAV in 5 years back? What is the NAV now for a ULIP product? So it brought in a lot of complexity, it brought in lots of audits, lot of certifications, brought in lots of regulatory clampdown, and also companies incurred huge costs. So what is now ensured is people actually program and prepare for 20 years, 30 years, 10 years. Systems are set beforehand, and that is audited, that is certified, that is controlled. And I have, as a stakeholder, I have to myself sign such things, saying that system is fine. So that's the kind of onerous responsibility you carry. And that means you will have to be really, really Six Sigma is not theory, Six Sigma is practical, actual. And of course, you have to do also cost control through walk. Gemba walk is a term that Japanese use. You have to actually do a visualization of what would happen. You will have to do go through the product. What could go wrong also has to be checked. You will have to also look at how the process will go, benchmark it, and visualize, think, and then actually run down the sequence of processes and then reduce costs. Pinpoint exactly where the problem is. And there are several case studies in this, especially Japanese experts come in. They actually say, for a hotel, where is the kitchen? They go to the kitchen and identify how things are placed, how things are stored, how things are filed, how people use paper when paper needs not to be used, etc., etc., etc. They go into such detailing that you go through every single process flow, system flow, and technical flow, and ensure weed out wastages. Cost leadership without total quality management is not permanent. You have to have quality, you have to have zero defects to ensure cost leadership. This is one case study of a company. It was this 1920 financial year before the pandemic. And of course, company had lots of incomes and premiums. But what's more important, I would like to show you is it identified what were the wastages, what were the increases, and then did lots of grilling on that and tried to weed out costs. So I'll show you the historic flow of this company from 4 to 11-10 were the good years. India was land of milk and honey, and lots of invasion happened. The same thing applies here. Lots of insurance companies invaded, made lots of money, lots of profits. And premiums growth rates were very high because margins were high. It's a distributor sales-centric time. And people didn't think about long-term. People didn't think about customer. People didn't think about how do you balance this madness to grow, madness to make money. And regulator clamped down very harshly in 2009, 10, 11, 12 because of customer complaints and mis-selling and lack of understanding by customers also. And there was a trust deficit, as we call it, at that time. And then regulator ensured not a single product could be lost to a customer by giving guarantees of maturity, guarantees of returns in some products, in terms of yield, etc., that need to be paid, yield on investment. There was lots and lots of parameters introduced by which actually all companies were challenged. And that's the negative part of the company. The company couldn't readjust. You have to readapt, reorient, readjust quickly. And it took time, of course. It takes time, and took nearly 3 years to come up the curve, and then attain sustainability. In this process, there was a lot of cost leadership exercises, cost orientation, cost reduction, process defect removal, Six Sigma achievement, etc., etc. And this is clearly a path to show you how companies have adapted, adjusted. Every single insurance company has gone through this path, be it be a life insurance company or a life insurance company more, what I am saying. General insurance companies also went through some kind of orientation, reorientation, digitalization, as my previous speaker spoke about, brought in lots of cost additions or cost benefits which the companies used. So cost reduction can be brought through what means? It can be brought only through transformation of business. Again, digitization. How do you do digitalization? Outsourcing again. You outsource what others could do at a cheaper rate, at a better way, and more skilled and more value to the customer. Driving operational excellence, cutting waste, excesses. Technology leadership, again, long-term thinking, have a clear technology roadmap, strategy, and of course, there are case studies on this also. So you have to think customers, reinvent to suit customer behaviors by harnessing customer intelligence. This is where the data comes into play. I have some case studies after this, which will take you through all this, like Amazon, how it sees how data is and then readjusts, adapts itself to the town, to the city, to the market, and ensures how does it use data. Alibaba is again a master in data. How does it use data? There are about 1,200 data scientists in Alibaba, and they look at customer behavior, intelligence, and then adjust. Competition achieve competitive edge by rebuilding platforms, going miles ahead of competition. Rethink. I have one interesting case study again in this. How do they come out very different from others? Differentiation, as we call it. Data is the new oil. Turn this into an asset. Prove results in real time. So insurance companies have it's a completely data dashboard driven company. Any company, general insurance, life insurance, health insurance, it's all data. You see any of the websites of insurance companies, it's compulsory. You have to disclose so many data. You go through websites after today and you will see what kind of information is available to you. And of course, you have to prove the results in real time. Again, innovate, rapidly experiment, rapidly innovate, adapt quickly, adapt to the needs, changing needs. And it's not, you innovate without for the short run. It's actually also the long run. You'll have to think through what will be the impact of what you do to customer, to shareholder, to employee, to regulator, long term and not short term. And that's the key. It's not just adjustment to the reality. It's also that plus think long term. Value again, profound change in customer experiences by transforming processes and competencies. Right strategy and investment focus. So business outcomes need to drive digital transformation. Often what happens in transformation is there are a lot of activities that you do. A lot of digital innovations and a lot of digital experimentation. It looks sometimes like a research, but then the research should bring in outcomes. Without outcomes, you have a problem. And often you're then questioned by stakeholders. Is it really beneficial in the long run? What have you achieved? And there is a lot of focus on that by the stakeholders, sometimes late. And then by then, of course, you've already spent a lot of money. So digital transformation could also mean increase in cost in the short run, but with a clear view, with a clear objective that it will bring about long-term cost reduction or optimization. So it means, of course, engaging experts, and which are expensive, costly. The McKinseys of the world, but they bring in a long-term result, long-term outcome, long-term if what they propound are clearly implemented with focus and differentiation. Transformation should be the top strategic priority. What is very clear for us is that digitalization is not simply building apps. It's not all about building apps in mobile, building apps in many applications. It's also, and again, everybody can build apps. It's also how important is to build the infrastructure that is trusted, secure again, and scalable also, without compromising the user experiences. Security is a big issue in the BFSI world. You would have seen some companies being reprimanded by regulator, some companies not permitted to unleash some products. They said, no, you can't do this new product now. Sorry. You get your infrastructure right first. Make it secure, make it scalable. Then I'll allow you or permit you to come up with digitalized products in the market. And this is, again, what is trust building. They don't want to do away the trust that has been already built. And that means you think through, again, just can't mindlessly unleash products and apps. You will have to also think through long-term impact on the stakeholders. DBS Bank, again, has done tremendously, especially DBS Singapore in trade finance and treasury. They've implemented lots and lots of innovations and brought about tremendous growth with profitability in treasury and trade finance, particularly in Singapore. Customer acquisition, again, how fast you acquire, how easily you acquire, how is the experience to the customer who was acquired, customer access to products and services of the company, engage the customers, not only when he is coming. एक बार कस्टमर ने चेक फाड़ दिया, आपको दे दिया, बस कस्टमर गया, कष्ट से मरेगा बाद में, नहीं. So customer engagement is all about engaging him throughout the journey. So till renewal, maturity, survival benefit, and payment of all kinds of benefits till the long run. Instant experience again. Again, business and innovation driven. You'll have to innovate. You have to think about business always, and potential of data and analytics. I can tell you about analytics in my own experience in risk management area. I remember when I was about 6 years or 7 years back in my own company, I used to also add claims because the claims head had resigned. And day in and day out, the head of claims who was there used to bring the COO had resigned, sorry, Chief Operating Officer, and then I got the claims because I used to run claim investigations. And what I noticed was day in and day out, I used to get claims that need to be repudiated. Repudiation means rejection of claims in a way, in simple terms. It's not actually, but for a layman, it could mean the same. So repudiation means you reject the claim and say, okay, sorry, I can't pay your claim. Why? Because this information you have given in the proposal form is false, deliberately given in a false manner, fraudulent. I noticed that day in and day out, I had this dead man insurance, then I had terminally ill patients being insured, then age 85 insured as age 65 or age 45. So some patterns, housewife buying term insurance, limit far beyond the limits. Then certain geographies were a problem. So I found out patterns, and by intuition I could say this is fraud, this is fraud, this is fraud, because daily and every day I used to look at the documents. By looking at the document, now I could make out by experience. This is fraud, this is not fraud, this is fraud, easily. And of course, you could test it also. And what I noticed is that it actually brings in lots of ill will because your customer is actually claiming and you are not paying the claim. That is what we call in our insurance parlance settlement ratio. So today, as we speak, our company settlement ratio is 98.5 and above. So every single claim has to be paid. Otherwise, what is the insurance business is all about? It's all about paying claims. That's the main motto of the business. And insurance industry is paid about life insurance industry itself is paid about more than 2,050 crores of COVID claims the last 1 year. So if that's the motto, how can I reject claim? So I said, if this is a fraud, why are you waiting for the fraudster to eat you? Another thing I noticed is after 3 years, you can't reject a fraud. You have to still go ahead and pay the claim. So why are you sitting duck? If something is seriously wrong, go after the fraudster instead of waiting for the fraudsters to eat you. because in the settlement ratio problem, in the 3-year problem, you actually were paying lots of fraudulent claims. And so we decided to go after the fraudsters. And of course, I was challenged because I did something different by my own company staff, again, sales staff especially, because he said this is trust deficit in the market because you can't cancel a policy after it is issued. I said, who says so? Read the policy document, because I'm a legal guy. A policy document was read, and in the policy document, it's very clearly mentioned if a false data is submitted, then you have every right to cancel the policy. And of course, we went and checked with the regulator. The regulator said, of course, you should do this. So we started this. And of course, initially it was by intuition and experience, hardcore experience. Data was being used, but not analytics. Then the company used SaaS analytics for sales, for persistency. Persistency means payment of renewal premium year after year or period after period, if it's a quarterly policy or a monthly policy. So what we did was we chased all the bad apples, which is territorial problem. Like we had areas like Bhavnagar, Kuwait Nagar. Of course, I used to love those places when I visited them for picnics or meeting friends. But there were fraud rackets in these areas. So nothing wrong with the area per se. Ongole, Warangal, Jalandhar, many places, Ganjam. So this is all again not named by us, named by the industry. And there are such 200 locations where fraud rackets operate. And what they do is they perpetrate about 30,000 crores of fraud across the insurance industry, general plus life plus health. 30,000 crore is the annual bill on fraud. So we use SaaS analytics to see the patterns in data. I actually did 6 months pilot testing, back testing, and found that we could save more money. So first year we didn't use SaaS. I saved about 40 crores, spent about 50-60 lakhs on investigations, additional investigation. Then I saved about 50 crores next year. We had spent about 55 crores on investigation, 55 to 60 crores. The next year we used SaaS. I saved another 10 crores. So use of technology brings in lots of improvements and process improvements and brings in value to the table. I'll tell you how does it bring in value to the table, even to the customer. So what we did was going after a policy after it is issued is a bad thing to do because it's not a pleasant experience. And so for the salesman, for the customer, and the good part, of course, was there was no false positives in the sense that there was no good customer who was rejected because we used to go back to the salesman. Salesman used to go back to the customer, check, and then only cancel. And still we managed to cancel 99% of the policies. 1% will come back saying, no, this is false positive. The customer is good. I know the person. Don't worry. There is not a problem. So, okay, we take back the policy. So we used to manage that. And all this intelligence engine that was built, now we gave it to the underwriting team. The underwriting team uses that within the underwriting. That means policy is not issued. So what was post is transformed to pre. What this means is better experience, better credibility, better trust, better reputation, and 98.5% settlement ratio. So this is the improvement curve we use, but this is a simple use of analytics. We use regression E-miner to plot exactly what would be a fraudulent claim and went after the fraudulent claim much before the fraud occurred. We went after the fraudsters. So you can imagine our early claim ratio. Early claim means claims that you receive within 2 years, those days, was 36% the burning. And today it's 13.5 or 14%, which is a top notch in the top quartile. So in life insurance. So that's the kind of improvement you can make by using analytics and data. Also, you need to have an enterprise-wide approach. Whatever you do, you can't do it in isolation. Again, you go to integrate digital technologies. 90% of our infrastructure is now cloud native, which allows us to be more nimble in developing new capabilities in the future. This is for good companies, I would say. Again, you should balance people also and technology also. Adjustment of customer. How do you speak to the customer? How do you bring smile to the customer? How do you personalize your service is also very important. People are important. It's all at the end of the day, people business. Employee has to be smiling. So cost reduction doesn't mean throwing away employees. Cost reduction doesn't mean cutting branches. Cost reduction doesn't mean cut salaries. Cost reduction doesn't mean cut bonuses. Cost reduction actually means improve bonus, improve salary, improve branches, improve customer, improve product, improve employees, and bring in better, more positive outcomes. And that's what is cost reduction technique or cost leadership or cost efficiency. Digitization again, like we'll again have some case studies. So digitization to achieve leadership, like the many shining examples that I'll give you. Again, online sales is something what some of the leaders in the life insurance industry has achieved. More and more online sales brings in better profitability, better efficiency, better trustworthiness, disintermediation. But I'm not trying to tell you that intermediaries are not good. Don't get me wrong. Everybody is important, and there is a place and corner for all kinds of people in the industry. Digitize to disintermediate, so you cut commission. But at the same time, intermediaries also give personalized surveys, bring in smile to the customer, bring in better value accretion to the customer, bring in knowledge to the table, which online sale may not bring. A customer may blindly choose a product. Digitization to offer customer the freedom of choice to free look cancel an offering. You actually get refund if you don't like the product in some days, 15 days and 30 days. 15 days for an offline and 30 days for an online. Choice to interact, give real-time feedback. Again, could have interactive processes, interactive sales, wherein customer actually makes the choice. I don't know how many of you people see Dance and before the Indian Idol that comes. One of the last year, one of the competitor actually brought in iPad kind of thing and told judges to choose what do you want, and then whatever judges do, they danced, and they shined out actually. So similarly, customer chooses and makes the product. You make your own pizza is something similar, and so general insurance, some of the companies have managed to achieve that. Choice to interact, give real-time feedback is that. Choice to receive customized offerings based upon behavior. Again, you do have a certain behavior and then you offer that product to that person. Past trends, choice, standing. Digitize to make life simple for the customer, hassle-free. So I don't know how many of you do call centers. Certain call centers do not ask too many details. He said, we know you well now. Since you have dialed from the same mobile number that we know of, we recognize your voice. So we are not doing all those things. We are going ahead. That brings in smile to you. American Express call center is typically that. Digitalization of service delivery, again, electronic issuance of policies, which previous speaker spoke about. Paperless policy, you don't have paper-based policy. Courier, आया नहीं policy घर पे, postman नहीं आया, courier problem है, यहाँ पे lockdown है. All that problems get sorted out. Technology-enabled digitalization, again, use of AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning. I think the insurance industry is very actively looking at artificial intelligence, machine learning, not only looking at it, lapping it up, implementing it, and it's going to go up in a big manner, I believe. Customer acquisition, the pull factor, like you get pulled to Amazon, Flipkart. You talk to my wife, I'll say, Amazon, everything she gets Amazon. Thankfully, she didn't choose me over Amazon. Flipkart in an intuitive, convenient, and increasingly real-time and automating the flow of data and transactions on straight through processing, STP. How much time do I have? I will go on speaking. Am I doing fine on time? 7:13. So.
Yeah, you do have time, sir.
Okay. Thank God. Okay. 15 minutes more at least, right?
Yeah.
All right. Great. Technology enablement, cloud-based, low-cost model. Achievement of cost reduction is not the end, but cost leadership is what important. Outsourcing again, people look at outsourcing in a negative way sometimes. Things say, employees, no, it's not that. Outsourcing could be even through all the employees being intact. You actually get a skilled partner who brings to the table cost cut product service at say 3x, 1 by 3x of what it is, that cost, and growth for you, obviously. And some partners actually also bring in network, connections, leverage. They bring in excellence to the table also. They use technology to the benefit actually and provide you choice. So outsourcing is very great. if you do it properly, strategically, and not for cost-cutting purposes, but for cost leadership. Outsourcing entails business continuity again. You can scale up, scale down. For instance, I don't know how many of you know, in my own company, we were actually selling 4,000 crores, nearly 3,800 crores. Today we sell about 900 crores, but we are more profitable than what we were. But outsourcing is again helped us to scale down, scale up. You suddenly have a huge order. Do you want to miss it? No, of course not. Give it to the outsource partner. He will produce it for you because you have control over its quality. You supervise his operations. You do Six Sigma of his processes. You actually do audit of his BCP. You do audit of his machinery. You do audit of his methodology and bring in value accretion to the table. So cost leadership without specialized partners today is difficult because today's life is complex. You can, of course, achieve cost leadership without specialized partners, but it is difficult because partners bring in specialization, bring in cost leadership to the table, bring in skill. Technology leadership, again, nothing can be done without technology leadership. You need digitalization today. You need apps, you need AI, machine learning, you need a sturdy infrastructure. You need cloud leadership, Alibaba. You need scalability, scale up, scale down, at profitable. Interoperability, again, chain technology, being technology neutral. नहीं मेरा प्रोग्राम इसी में चलता है, ये डेटाबेस में चलेगा, ये ऐप में चलेगा, नहीं ये ऐप में और ये डेटाबेस में नहीं चलेगा. No, that is not possible. So digitization has brought. So any mobile, if you have an application, mobility application, any mobile should work. You can't say no, only iPhone will work, but another phone may not work. You will have to patch to work, and therefore neutrality is very important. So very interesting time ahead, 10 minutes case studies. So Amazon brought in what? It brought in digital customer experience, free 2-day shipping of orders, exclusive price discounts, hundreds of millions of products. And in fact, in lockdown now, amazingly, things have arrived in your doorstep. Of course, doorstep means you have to go down still to the gate of the building, pick it up, wash your hands, put mask, and go back again. Check if lift, not many people are in the lift, only one person maybe, and then wait for the lift. So, but still, Amazon arrives at your gate. And so many things people have done with amazing things with Amazon in the last 1 year. And it brings in smile to many, many housewives or the leader of the house. So purchasing system of integration, again, they have a very good purchasing system integration, hundreds of millions of products, tax exemption for qualified customers, shared payment methods, order approval workflows. You could actually go and approve enhanced order reporting. Again, in lockdown, it has become a necessity item. Audi is a very niche example. I gave a very simple example. Now I'm giving a very niche example. They had an innovative showroom, very unique brand experience and on experience, an entire catalog through cars in city center. This brought in 60% incremental sales on the same place where many cars used to be stocked. There are just 4 cars or 3 cars. So they cut down on expensive rentals, saved a lot of money because they have to store very less number of cars now. And again, the showrooms were very expensive in London. But this example is not restricted to London. Slowly, what they did in London, of course, can't be replicated in the same manner across the world, but they did. Because rentals are not only expensive in London, it's also expensive in India, in Mumbai. 5-star hotel rates are as expensive in India as abroad. So you go to Tokyo, it's still very expensive place. You go to London, it's expensive. So there are many, many places in the world that are expensive. And so this example is replicable even in India. And they've tried that. Intel, again, the chip maker, they have again done a supply chain cost reduction, make to order, strategic change, incremental approach to cycle time improvement. Cycle time they improved. Order cycle time reduced to 2 weeks from 9 weeks. That's amazing reduction. Atomic chip, which was $20, they saved about $4 per unit. $16 they did it. chip assembly test window from a 5-day schedule to a bi-weekly 2-day schedule. Vendor management inventory model. Again, they did a pilot in Malaysia and then replicated it across. They eliminated a lot of wastages. HDFC Bank, our own greatest bank, third today in the stock exchange in the market leadership. They adopted simple 3 principles of Michael Porter, cost leadership being number 1, by the way, of Michael Porter, and differentiation and focus. So what did they do? They did competitive positioning, market leadership positioning through efficient value chain management, high brand value. Of course, HDFC is a very high brand value. Best private bank, largest private bank, largest bank, sales growth again, quick brand recognition, extensive experience, now become the oldest brand. Focus on intensive growth strategies. Concentrate on those concentrate the resources on expanding the narrowly targeted segments. Certain segments are niche. It looks narrow, but they put all their resources there, make it broad, and bring in lots of value by doing market penetration. Also, do in the regular areas also market penetration, product development, constantly develop new products, market development, develop new markets, diversify again. Differentiation, so they don't put all eggs in one basket. Differentiation, very important. Very, very unique product features and services. Even in the security that they provide to a customer, it's extremely unique experience. When you go through internet banking, kind of questions they ask suddenly. And again, even when you think they're doing security, they're actually back end capturing so many details of yours. Where you have insured your car, what's your passport number? So many things they actually ask. So you think they're asking security questions, but actually they're doing also certain unique, harnessing a lot of data out of you. Again, innovation is key. Innovation is embedded in all their processes, technologies, tools to offer differentiated, augmented service. What's the outcome? Strong, loyal customer base, market leadership, and 17% return on equity. 17 is well above the global average. So they're like shine in the globe. And of course, they are in the number 3 in the current market. So I'm also open for questions. Hope I didn't waste time. And I'm open to questions from anybody, anything. So if I understand the question and I know the answer, I will certainly share with you. I've shared what I have experienced and what I know. Thank you thanks for the opportunity. The CA Institute.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for a detailed
Thank you. Yeah.
From your experience, you have spoke a lot, and all of that is very much worthy and understandable. That you have a humongous experience in working for so many companies, you have gathered it, and it's such a recognizable knowledge piece. You spoke from cost control vis-a-vis cost reduction to be one of the positive word, which can be achieved with digitization, AI, machine learning, bots, and eliminating the waste. And just to summarize what you have spoken, I'm just have taken a few notes from your deliberation. And with better planning, we can achieve cost reduction, and it starts only after once the cost control activity has been done. The root cause analysis is very much important for the cost reduction, and compliances with the standards and norms for making the product and continuing with it. It's very much required. Complete Six Sigma test for the existence of the product for the long term would again be the thing to be taken care of. And it's better way it brings value increase for both the customer as well as the employees working. You thrust upon the business transformation and digitization, outsourcing, which you said is to be a leveraging and specialization activity that will bring it along, and scaling of operations can be achieved through it. You said the mantra that it is better to have one good customer rather than having 10 bad customers. Your experience in that is exemplary. And security is a very important factor that you also thrust upon. And your case studies that you have brought, they were very mind-boggling. You presented the data in a very understandable manner. Thank you so very much, sir. It was a very detailed and a very good presentation.
Thank you so much.
So now I open the house for the questions. Sir, you are also being asked to share the PPTs. There is one question.
Yeah,
How the
certain
enterprise
confidential
risk
aspects I'll remove and then share the rest.
certainly. How the enterprise risk management framework function in the insurance industry? Is there any specific guidelines for the regulatory in this regard? It is a question by Mr. Ashish Gupta.
So you want to take a stab at that, Mr. Arya? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Shafre or you, either of you can take the question.
Yeah. Both of us will try.
May I repeat the question once?
No, I
How the
understood.
enterprise...
Maybe for
Yeah.
So can I can't hear you. I lost you. You can hear me?
Am I audible, sir? Yes,
Yeah,
we
no,
can hear you.
yeah, sure. Tell me, yeah. So your question is
how the enterprise risk management framework function in insurance industry? Is there any specific guidelines from the regulatory in this regard?
Sure. So yes, so there are lots and lots of guidelines for enterprise risk management, areas of enterprise risk management, I would say. Is there a holistic guideline on ERM itself? Probably not. It's touched upon in a very broad manner. But there are very specific guidelines in an investment area, which is market risk and credit risk. There are very specific guidelines in technology risk, security, information security, data confidentiality, very, very specific regulatory guidelines. I'm actually in a committee working with ICAI also. ICAI is also partnering this. I'm part of the ICAI initiative. In the cyber security, I'm an advisor to IRDAI along with ICAI, of course, working for ICAI on cyber security. So for the insurance industry, we are revamping the cyber security for all the companies, insurance companies, general, life and health. So there are very, very lots and lots are being done on risk management side, and risk management actually brings in lots of protection, security to the and trust enhancement to the stakeholders. So this business is all about trust. If you lose trust, you're finished. Insurance is all about trust. So you have to build trust, and building trust, risk management plays a very important role. Every single customer adverse experience, risk management looks at it. So enterprise risk management looks at it. And we do lots of investigations, lots of reaching out to customer, finding out what are the woes, then taking action on the salesperson involved or the operational person involved, and also maybe not involved. Maybe customer was the fraudster. Then we take action on the customer. So this involves police liaising. This involves disciplinary metrics along with HR. This involves lots of operational risk. Again, there are lots and lots of guidelines. Operational risk also a very important area. And as I mentioned earlier, the product settings that are there need to be certified by CRO, Chief Risk Officer, day 1 for day 30. So the system settings have to be there, and I have to ensure that. I have to put my stamp and sign on that. And that's a very tough, risky job. So we ensure lots of audits are done before. Lots of testing is done adequately. We actually engage actuaries to do that. And then there, of course, the new area is the insurance risk, which actually involves actuaries. So I actually had to employ an actuary, semi-actuary in my team. We have also become like half doctors by working with a doctor. That means half actuaries. So we've understood mortality very well. We've understood persistency very well. We've understood longevity very well. We have understood investments yield very well, returns yield. The mid-office investments, mid-office reports to me. So I have to understand the capital market inside out. I'm also part of the advisory group in that also, investment section, working closely with the regulator on this, and ICAI, of course. ICAI, by the way, is part of the board of IRDAI, also part of the many committees of IRDAI. So ICAI plays a very important role, as you say, nation builder, in insurance industry also. There's an immense contribution of ICAI. And in enterprise risk management, the question was that is it important? Yes, it is important. It's a very central, pivotal part. It has to improve the actuarial part. That's an improvement area much more because people are getting more and more advanced. And you'll be surprised that the CEO also becomes the best risk manager. Probably thinks he's a better risk manager than I am. So that's because insurance is all about risk management only. What are we doing? We are doing risk management of the life of a person in the life insurance and health of a person in the health insurance, and in general, so many general risks they take care of. It's a vast area in general insurance. So risk, it's all a risk management business. And therefore, the CEO is sometimes better risk manager. The CFO who came before could be probably far better than me and in risk management because he actually takes care of lots of risks. He has to do expense management, rationalization, yet achieve growth, yet give incentives to salespeople to sell. If you don't sell, you don't get business. You also have business risk. So that's also a bigger risk than not having business is also a risk. So risk is all pervasive, and therefore it's centralized, a pivotal role in our insurance industry.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for a detailed answer on this. I guess the query gets resolved here. There is one more question. I guess C. Jatendra sir should take this question. Which is the best way to procure professional services through a centralized function which requires specified skills? Central team could focus more on cost than the skills.
Sorry, could you just please repeat it? I did not get the question.
Yeah. Sure, sir. You spoke about centralization of the procurements, and regarding this, a question has been raised by Mr. Kamlesh Kanchandani. He asked that what is the best way to procure professional services through a centralized function which requires specified skills? Central team could focus more on cost than the skills.
I think.
I know it's a little tricky one.
No. But I think it's pretty clear, when we speak about cost optimization versus cost reduction. So we never go for services which are substandard. I think what we need to do when we are doing as a central procurement team is ensure a certain level of quality. I mean, and that could be decided between the function owner and the centralized procurement and says, what is the quality that you are requiring? And then in that, get the best possible price. I would never recommend, because if you are, say, cutting corners and, reducing prices by 20 to 30%, but if you don't get the quality, you actually waste the entire set of resources that you're using. So first we need to bring that line of what is the quality required, and then you go to the market and procure services which are of the same quality, and then do a price negotiation. I don't think anywhere we can sacrifice on quality to go on cost.
Further, I would add what he said earlier also, the previous, Mr. Jitendra. He mentioned about reverse auction in his speech, and also procurement. So you need a strong central procurement function. They are very, 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 very important partners for us in risk management. I remember one very interesting case. Many of you would have seen the car24.com ad, and they really get you a very good price for your car. I've gone through them and sold my car. So they really do a reverse auction, and they say, wait. And I can see the screen. And screen moves really, and you get quotes, and then you find a best buyer. But in certain cases, what happens is, I found 3 quotes we got, and of course, this was given by the procurement function. He smelled something in those 3 quotes. Sundar is a gadbad hai isme. So he said, okay, ye le lo, kuch to isme problem hai, aap log investigate karo. So my guys went and found that all the 3 are related, of course, and same company finally. So they are different backgrounds, cleverly mentioned, but actually they were all from the same group and same company. And they managed to get 3 different names and 3 different codes. So procurement function is very important. And they are first line risk managers. And they do this reverse auction, get the best price. But I fully agree with what he said. Quality is very important. You can't subscribe, you can't get into norms lesser than the norms that you have put on quality, on standards of vendors, because our outsourcing regulation will come and kill you. outsourcing regulation is very, very stringent of IIDA. You got to be careful in what you do.
But this just this reverse auction reminds me of one more thing. In fact, in IP cases of one of a bank which was allotting the IP cases, insolvency professional cases, the insolvency professionals were asked to make a quotation. And it was again like a reverse quotation. They had set a higher price, and the one who could quote the lower price one after the other, he would get the case. It was that kind of a open bidding kind of a system that they had made. So I believe that they had also been taking transparency and also, but the ironical thing was somebody quoted 0 to just.
That's a norm problem.
And they were gambling.
That's a norm problem. So you need to have minimum norms, standardized minimum norms, base price.
Certainly, at least
unsacrificed norms and quality.
I would like to step in. Utsav-ji, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible.
Yes. So I have a question to both of you. This program is seen by all across the people from industry, CEOs, CFOs, CEOs, all finance professionals and practicing chartered accountants. And many of them may be small and medium practitioners with 2, 3, 1 provider or up to 10, 12 partners. So I would like to know what professional opportunity you feel the chartered accountants can get in cost cutting, and how you feel you can respectively guide them that in case they want to go and have more professional opportunities, what is the skill set they need and what are the probable areas where they could approach. I would repeat the question in a nutshell. What are the skill sets which are needed by a small and medium practitioner so that he is able to effectively cut costs for the corporates or the clients, and more importantly, what are the areas where he could go, specific industries where you feel such kind of clients can be there? Questions to both of you, sir. You can answer one by one.
Sundar, you can start this time.
Okay. So I think there are lots of areas where chartered accountants bring value, add value in insurance industry. They work as, they understand processes better, business processes, because of their audit experience or skill sets that they bring into the table. And because they understand processes better, they can actually come and quickly learn the intricacies and niche. The more niche you get, more intricacies you learn, better it is. You can't be gas on the table. You will have to be really go dirty your hands, learn everything. And if you learn everything, you bring in real value to the company, because you will cut actually the cost for the company. Of course, optimize in the long run, and so you would actually add value there. You could be involved in a cost study or a cost inquiry. You could do a Gemba walk, which I spoke about earlier. And today, of course, chartered accountants are involved in vast fields: internal audits, concurrent audit, statutory audit, and investment audit, system audit, cyber security audit. And there are many areas. Actuarial also, ICOFAR, then again standards. So by virtue of experience in all these areas, chartered accountant bring it to the table some knowledge of the insurance business process today and accounting process. And they're able to combine that knowledge and skill set to achieve pinpoint areas of wastages. Even now, thanks to my statutory audit, every board meeting, they actually pinpoint clearly what are the cost excesses, what looks bad by doing analytical review. So they exactly pinpoint what are the expenses we should focus on, what stand out in terms of adverse ratios. So I would say a very important role or a tremendous role, and they have advantage over other professionals. This is my personal view. I leave it to Mr. Jitendra. Thanks.
Sure. I think from a cost perspective, we've used a lot of external agencies, and I would like to share what we've been using. And I think that will be a heads up for all you practicing chartered accountants to find an opportunity there. I think very important, because we use it on a day-to-day basis. So we know that this is the requirement, and if you can get those expertise, that will be the best. I think first nowadays with GST and everything coming, as Sundar mentioned, was that the processes need to be very, very clean. I think that's where we have a big advantage. I mean, no point repeating that. So the GST, etc., there's a lot of work in reconciliations and process changes, etc., system changes, etc., which we all know. That's one. We, as I said earlier, did a very big benchmarking activity, which for example, we do not have too much of data with us, but a firm can collate a lot of data because we are not supposed to share the data, but it's good to do a benchmarking study of various companies, and that's a lot of requirement there in the industry for such kind of data, because you don't get all the information in the public disclosures. So we did that from EY a few years back, and it was a very, very fruitful activity because it helped. This was at the time I was at ICICI, and it was a very, very fruitful activity, and a lot of costs could be compared and then closed based on that. The other important thing I think is as Sir mentioned, was what is the requirement. I think in cost, the biggest advantage that anybody can have is experience. So for example, if you know the prices which are there in the market, so we had another arrangement with one of the big consulting companies, was that they came and said, we will look at your costs and we will reduce costs for you, because they had the advantage of knowing what is the market rates for various activities. And they said, you don't pay me for my services, you pay me as a percentage of the costs that I save. If somebody comes to me and tells you your current expenditure is say 500 crores, and you give me 1% of the cost that I save, and if he saves 50 crores for me and earns 50 lakhs, I'll be very happy because I have saved 50 crores or whatever that number is. So, that was a big activity. We saved a lot of money, and that's where they also came, and it was a win-win situation for both the companies. Third, I think is we as chartered accountants are very, very, also if you have the experience on the structures of the organization. Today in any company, your biggest cost today is employee cost. So we did another activity of cost management where another agency came to us and did an activity on identifying the structural issues that the company had with say 30,000 people in a company. Is the company structured well, and everybody, do you need that many people to run an organization? So they did a very good job of identifying departments, functions which were not required by the company or could have been merged into any other department and get an overall save. So this is another potential good area where we can go and tell the companies, okay, we do an assessment for you, whether your structures of the company are in line, and whether these are the few things that we can do. But at the end of the day, if you go into a company with experience saying we are experts at cost management and cost reductions, that will be great. Another one which we did, I think I attended a seminar, I think a month back, where a chartered accountant firm are actually positioning themselves as an implementation partner for automation of services. For example, they came to us and says claim services that you are doing, or whatever percentage of it is manual, where payouts are going through, somebody writes a check or somebody uploads a file, downloads a file. They would automate everything through a software. And they took that activity and said, okay, this will reduce so many manpower for you. So those are the kind of activities we look at chartered accountant firms to come and consult us on. And there are loads of such things that we want. I mean, beyond this, if you want, we can go into business planning models which are created by these companies. They know the business, they create the business plans, they create the entire R1, R2 for people to apply, etc. Those are the kind of things. There's plenty of work in the industry. We have to just think a little more wider to understand where we can find some room.
Thanks a lot, Atraji. You spoke exceedingly well, and Sundar, you also. I suggest that we at the board or committee can set up a group. We can make a publication on cost cutting. If you are ready, I could announce it today only. So people who are interested could always, I have 5 people here on the board. Along with that, if somebody
Sure.
wants to, because what I want to tell, I am very keen that in pandemic, certain things have gone. GST audit has gone. The tax audit limit in case of non-cash has gone up to 10 crore rupees. Bank audits are also struggling. So I want the chartered accountants who want to do something great are equipped with certain opportunities. Their skill set have to be hotched up, but more importantly, opportunities be given. So I'm instructing the office, both of you, including three of them, Sonia ji, Gurleen ji, and Utsav ji, if anyone of them are interested, we'll set a very interesting group on this and we'll try to bring out the publication, say, in a month's time. We could all
Absolutely,
provide
absolutely.
great sir, because this will be a great help to the profession at large.
Absolutely, sir.
Over to Utsav ji for your further proceedings.
Thank you so much, Nanda ji. Thank you so much, Jitendra ji. Thank you so much, Surendra ji. Now, we have almost reached the end of the program. Now, may I request Singh ji, Secretary, Jalandhar Branch, NIRC of ICAI, to present a vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Utsav. It was a wonderful session. I would first of all like to thank all the members of the Committee of Management Accounting, Chairman Nanda ji, Utsav Dogra ji, our eminent speakers, CA Sundar Krishnan ji, special address by Jitendra Atra ji, CFO, Edelweiss General Insurance Company. It was a wonderful interactive session where we have come to know many things about the topic. The topic was very much need of the hour, the management accounting insights, the impact of cost reduction and the controls of profitability. It was very well versed. Nanda ji also at the end offered an opportunity for the young and middle level practitioners. So I thank you all for joining. It was a proper session which was required and was very much implemented. A number of members have attended, asked questions, very well answered the questions as well. I'm thankful to you all. We are lucky to have this discussion in this hour of pandemic where new opportunity or new knowledge can be shared in at such a forum. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all. I want to thank Sundar Kishan ji and Atra ji for their very exciting session. I call it exciting because I am receiving calls from members who have liked it like anything. I am thankful to the branch officials, Chairman Madam Sonia and Secretary Mr. Gurleen. I am thankful to Mr. Utsav who very aptly and very efficiently manage the whole session. The Master of Ceremonies, in fact, the most important aspect of any seminar that has to be successful. We are
Thank
in
you so
times
much,
of
sir.
pandemic,
Thank you.
and I suggest that all of us have to remain safe. We all have to remain blessed because in such times, venturing out would be dangerous. And I'm reminded of a couplet, the last couplet. मैं खुदा का नाम लेकर पी रहा हूँ दोस्तों, मैं खुदा का नाम लेकर पी रहा हूँ दोस्तों, जहर भी उसमें हुआ तो दवा हो जाएगा, जहर भी उसमें हुआ तो दवा हो जाएगा. It is ultimately our faith in God, our Almighty, which will keep us moving and driving. Thank you so much. We'll meet on next Friday with another topic and again a great special address by some of the eminent CFOs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
I'm really
Thank you.
thankful
Thank
to
you
all
very
of
much.
you
Thank you.
and to the participants who have come in such large numbers to make this seminar one of the outstanding and one of the very celebrated seminars of the year. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.